the first one of the day, Terrozona.
Congratulations.
First person to say, people still play this game?
For being that guy. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you for your support.
Good job,
Appreciate
you did it. No, but thank you everyone for coming by today. We are, again, right in the midst of this whole PTS process, which is great for us, one, because we get to talk about a lot of stuff.
Yes.
That's why we have someone who knows what they're talking about here. So thank you, Nikki, for joining us. Nikki, for the people at home, who are you?
I'm Nick, or Nikki. Most people call me Nick.
All right.
For some reason, most people in Sweden don't.
Right,
but you can call me Nick, Nikki, whatever. I'm part of the economy and progression team.
Right.
So we work with XP, rewards, crafting, and personally I've been mostly working on loot and vendors.
Nice. All right. Well, there's been a lot of adjustments to those over the whole PTS process, so that's why it's super good to have you here. We have week 2 has just finished.
Yes.
All right. So week 3 will be going live today, correct? I think
officially entering week 3 now.
Oh my god, a lot of stuff. So like we've said before, and I think it's important to reiterate this: the PTS, as much as it pains me to say it, isn't for your enjoyment. It's not. It's for us to test a lot of things, and that's why it's been really, really good. So we're honing in on that. A lot of the systems that require a lot of tuning, balance, loot, and gear, and the whole in-game experience, especially in the context of world tiers. We're kind of honing in on that experience. And I know I saw people in chat before saying, we've seen the patch notes, and it's like, oh, they're listening. Yeah, this whole process. Yes, we're listening, but also we're testing. So we get the chance to look at what's actually happening through the data that we get, but also mix it with that whole community conversation. So good job.
And there's been a lot of discussion, especially last week following some of the changes we did. So obviously this is all discussions that we've been reading and we've been listening to, and we made some adjustments now. As you said, we're getting closer and closer to the end result that we're looking for. So now it's just really about small tweaks here and there and testing things one way or the other. But yeah, we're getting there.
Exactly. Someone's saying it's Mihi83. They don't listen exactly. Chat said nerf Yannick's beard. It's true. And somehow it gets better every week. So I don't know.
It's becoming a thing now. So we were talking earlier with Nikki about the fact that he doesn't have a beard.
No.
He doesn't also have the biceps.
No.
But
that's
we're always
great for us.
Every time we're bringing something on the state of the game, it has to be something special.
No.
Shiny head guy.
So we brought your shiny head.
We did the head makeup earlier, which is the first time we've done that on State of the Game. So. That's the thing. I also saw, and we had Drew Cena, and I can't remember what Frederick's weapons guy.
Weapons guy.
But apparently Nicky's the hitman. There you go.
Hitman. Yeah.
Hitman. Okay.
Hitman
Nick. All right. That'll work.
Yeah. No, I don't do magic either.
Oh man.
No.
Unfortunately.
No.
There's only one guy that can do
We're sorely
magic.
lacking in magic.
Yeah.
Okay. For the people who didn't read the patch notes, Yannick's pretty good at reading. So.
Easy. Now you know that there are some people that complain about my accent in State of the Game and they don't understand me. So.
All right. If you say anything that's unclear, I'll try and clear it up. Although I
won't say deck.
All right. Fine.
Boom. Okay. So. I got my patch notes. So we just published the patch notes on the forum for week 3 of the PTS. I don't know if the command in chat is up to date now. Or is it
Gabe just updated it for us. So if you type !patch notes in chat, you will get the latest week 3 patch notes, which are the ones you have here.
Yeah. So thank you, Gabe.
Thanks, Gabe.
The cringe. Yeah, the cringe. I know. That's my specialty. Just ruining the mood. That's what I do.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go through it. I'm not going to read everything because, again, there's a bunch, but some of the interesting changes. And the first ones people should be happy about. So there was something with the time to kill, and especially the time to be killed, that seemed kind of off with week 2. It was already here in week 1, but somehow it was not noticeable as much. But it became very noticeable with week 2. So a lot of people are putting patch notes now.
Yeah, there you go.
So basically what we did to address that is we decreased the damage of level 31 to 33 NPCs by 15%.
Yeah, to get things back in line with that.
To get things back in line with, again, the 1 to 30 experience and everything. So what that means is that all the NPCs starting from world tier 2 and above are going to deal 15% less damage to you. So time to be killed is gonna be much better, and it's gonna feel better. So you're
Cool.
not going to be as as fragile as you were before. So that should help. Another thing that we did with time to kill, because we were not completely happy. We're pretty happy with where we stand now with normal and veteran NPCs. It's pretty good. But with elites, we felt like it was still a bit too much. It was still a bit too long, especially when you have heavies, because they're really, they're still kind of bullet spongy. So what we did is we decreased the armor of the elite NPCs by 17%. So they will have less armor. So all the elites, not just the heavies, but all the elite NPCs will have 17% less armor, which means your time to kill elite NPCs is going to be faster.
Cool.
Squishy, thank you.
Works for me.
Squishy was the word I was looking for. So that's going to be a bit better. That's also going to make it better for people who want to, when you're like going to challenge mode kind of difficulties and all that, and also if you want to solo this kind of difficulties, because elites are still quite a challenge when you're playing solo. So that's two changes, but that should have a very significant impact on your experience. So let us know how it feels when you play on week 3 or PTS 3 as we call it. And then another change that we did regarding NPCs that is going to be noticeable is we basically change the threat mechanic. So
that's gonna be interesting to try.
we tweaked, or we it's more than tweaked, but we made a lot of changes to the threat mechanic. Sorry, I'm reading comments that are okay. No, I will not comment on that, guys.
Okay.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
Yes, please.
Oh, SB, stop it. Okay. The cringe again. That's what I do, I said. So the threat mechanic. So basically what we did is we cannot change the threat mechanic so you can have a better understanding how threat works and a better control over threats. So we changed the way NPCs react to threat generation, and we also changed the approach to threat with a lot of skills, which means that now you will clearly have skills that generate threat, skills that reduce threat. That was one of the
smart cover especially is one of the
smart cover, for example, mobile cover also. Pulse is also going to have one mod that actually reduces threat. So the idea is that we want you to have more control over it. So obviously the guy who's standing there with a ballistic shield shooting with his gun should be generating much more threat than other guys. So
especially if you have your friends in smart cover, which is really cool. I'm looking forward to trying that out.
So we have a bunch of changes there regarding that. The end result should be that yes, you should have much more control, better control over threat generation, which means that tanking should be and aggro management should be a proper mechanic in a group. So that's gonna be interesting to see what you guys think about it. So test it and let us know. Then what do we have? Search and destroy and high value targets. So we changed the search and destroy. There was something with search and destroy where a lot of the enemies were actually elites, which is kind of wrong because search and destroy is not really meant to be something challenging. It's meant to be like an activity you can just farm, so you can farm your intels, and then the HVTs are meant to be a bit harder.
Sure.
And we had a lot of elites in the search and destroy. So what we did is we basically removed them. Most of them. So now it's going to be mostly just normal and veteran NPCs when you're doing search and destroy.
Nice.
So search and destroys are going to be much easier and therefore much faster to farm as well.
Keep in mind that when you also hand in the search and destroy thing back at the board, you get a reward. Yesterday I was playing on the PTS and I got a 229 weapon, 229 ACR just from handing in my search and destroy. So total viable open world farming option now, which is really cool.
And also in terms of intel, by the way, that's not a week 3 change. I think it was a week 2 change. You guys changed the amount of intel you get from search and destroy, right?
Yeah, we definitely changed it. I'm not sure if it was PTS2 or this week, but it's definitely changed from 5 to 10. So that would lessen the grind a bit more, so you can get to the actual contracts a bit more quickly.
And the contracts get a lot of rewards now. It's super cool.
And also one good thing with actually search and destroy and high value targets is that we made a change last week. In the end was not a very good idea. We wanted to make weekly high value targets contract group content. A lot of people have been commenting on that, so we've reverted that. So that means that high value targets and high risk targets will scale to group size again, which means you can solo them, the weekly ones. Because we made a change, so only daily could be played with smaller groups, or only dailies would scale to group size, and weeklies would always be scaled for groups of 4.
Cool.
You guys didn't like it. We understood. We understand. We agree. So we reverted it. So forget about it. Now,
Nice.
high value and high risk, they scale to group size, so you can play them solo. So easier search and destroy missions, more rewards or more intel from search and destroy missions, and therefore also high value targets, contracts that will scale to group size.
Nice.
So,
People are very, very happy about that one. That's really cool. I actually did the first weekly yesterday. I don't know if that was scaled to me or to the group size, but with my crappy build, I ran out of time to kill all the enemies.
Oh, yeah.
But then I went back with another build and I managed to do it. But it was difficult. But I think this change is really, really cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, and we know this one has been discussed already. Banshee. So we said last week the 4-piece Banshee, the non-rogue bonus, which was the speed bonus. We did tell you we had to remove it. We know that some people don't really understand why, or have been questioning why we have to remove the speed buff. Basically, again, what's happening is there is a whole technical limitation to how fast you can move. And basically, if we keep this speed bonus on some machines, it's going to work fine because your computer or your machine is going to be able to buffer the game at the speed you're moving. And on other machines, it's going to be complicated, and it might lead to situations where the game is not going to buffer fast enough, which means we're going to have to force you into a slower speed, or actually to make your character walk so the game can catch up. So it's not going to be a good experience. We know that some of you tried it and didn't have this issue, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the case for everyone.
Yes.
It's unfortunate, but something we wanted to try, but that's not something that works good enough for us to release it. So we removed it. We did say we were going to remove it. We removed it. So now it's been replaced with Why Not Rogue. Damage to rogue players is increased by 10%. That didn't change.
Yes.
And then no Dark Zone XP or currency is lost on death.
Yep.
So what that means is that when you're wearing this gear set, if you're in a Dark Zone, you're not rogue. If you die, you're not going to lose any currency or any Dark Zone XP.
Nice. I mean, I know I've already seen a lot of the conversations around this online. People seem a bit split. Some people love it, some people don't like it. I mean, that's kind of also the same with a lot of sets we have because the game is about choice. But again, we'll keep a close eye on how all these things pan out. But it'll be very interesting to see that testing, especially in the context of the live game, because right now one of the things you don't have with a set like Banshee, which provides a lot of farming opportunities in the Dark Zone, that investment on your character doesn't really exist on the PTS because you're going to get deleted anyway. But in the live game, when you're really trying to gear up your character, you have a lot of the credits, which you can now spend on sealed caches, and we'll talk about that in a second, which is really, really cool. And you won't lose anything. So there's some cool things happening there.
So we know, and I can see in chat already right now, that opinions are very split on that one, which is very interesting. Guys, keep discussing and let us know. Try it on week 3, try it on a PTS, let us know what you think. We think it can be interesting because Dark Zone is all about risk versus reward, and therefore now, if you're wearing this gear set, which of course is not mandatory for the Dark Zone, but if you're wearing it and you're not rogue, either that's going to help you farm, because if you die while farming, you're not going to have the consequences, or also if you want to do rogue hunting, it's going to be also less risk for you because you're not losing as much if you actually don't manage to kill the rogue. So that's something we're experiencing, or we're like, we're just experimenting with. Let us know. Next one, and that's a good one, named weapons. So the named weapons are no longer locked to specific gear scores.
Exactly.
Yes. Nice. So, but we talked a little bit about this off the stream before. I think now is a good time, since we're talking about it and we don't forget it later on. There's some changes to where you can find specific weapons, right? So,
of course, it's like all the weapons are available at all gear score levels. But there are some limitations to that depending on the source where you get them from. Like vendors, we scale those with world tier. So everything that was on vendors, you can get at every level depending on what tier you are. Stuff that drops in open world will also just scale depending on the tier that you are. So a 33 or a 229 Caduceus is a thing now. But so is like a 182 Showstopper, for example. So that used to be a 229 only. The thing is that we tried to keep the sources intact when we introduced the world tiers. But for example, challenge mode for main missions is locked to tier 2, right? So that means you like the showstopper is still behind challenge mode. So that one won't be available in tier 1, which is why you can't get it as a 163. But from then on, you can get it at any gear score. So, but the swapping around of the sources has to do with the blueprints, because blueprints do not scale, right? Like any other blueprint in our game is like, this is the fixed gear score thing that you make. So we, instead of like offering a lot of blueprints for those as well, we try to like just redistribute the weapons that affected.
Okay, because I think you talked about Tenebrae earlier,
yes,
right?
it should be Tenebrae, Valkyria, and Liberator.
Okay.
And so we didn't put in the patch notes what the new sources are for these named weapons. Okay. 2 of them are quite easy to find because they're on the Phoenix credit vendor. So you will see that as soon as you open his...
So the Tenebrae and...
No, the Valkyria and the Liberator.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And the Tenebrae is somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
Somewhere else. So whoever finds it first,
gets a
let
cookie.
us know.
Right.
Send us a screenshot or something. Tell us where you got it.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how the named weapons are going to contribute to character building with 2-9 options.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of things that can be added back into the meta as well, which is going to be very interesting.
So yeah, we'll see. By the way, Confliction T, I noticed you.
I saw Pork Toe as well. What's up?
All right. So that's good news. That's going to be interesting.
One more thing about that though is like the one remaining blueprint is the Damascus, which is the blueprint that you get for like completing General Assembly for the first time. Okay. That is still the only weapon that you can craft through that blueprint, and it's only available at that level.
Oh, okay. Right, so there won't be a 2-9 Damascus.
Not yet. No. Right. Maybe we can look into that for the future.
But it's the only exception. It's the only weapon. But okay. All right. So skills. So there was a lot of discussion also regarding skills about the approach with the diminishing return curve and how intense the diminishing return was. So we made some tweaks to the curve now based on your feedback as well. And we basically changed it so that we still want skills to be useful even if you don't really spec in electronics, and that has always been the case because we don't want you to completely disregard skills, but therefore we want to reward players who invest in electronics heavily. We want to reward them more. So we changed the diminishing return curve to make it more interesting basically to invest in electronics, which means you're going to be able to go even further with your skills by investing in electronics. What that means though is that we had to do some tweaks with some of the skills to make sure that they don't scale like incredibly and you don't end up with very OP skills. So there's a bunch of rebalancing we did on skills based on that. I will not go through that. I invite you guys to have a look at the patch notes. It's a lot of small tweaks here and there. It's nothing drastic. But just have a look there. But know that, yes, now you're going to be rewarded more by investing heavily in electronics, which is going to be nice. We also looked at the skill haste issue. We know that there was a video by Marco about issues with skill haste where you could have like a 2-second cooldown on the first aid and these kind of things. We put some safeguard there. Unfortunately, that means we have to put some caps on skill haste. But yeah, that's the only way to make sure that it doesn't get completely broken. So yeah, but a bunch of changes with that. So try to invest in electronics and tell us how it feels. And then with skills, the other thing that's interesting, so we talked about it, it's all the thread generation. So now things like ballistic shield will generate more thread, will generate threat just by the fact that you're carrying your ballistic shield, but it's also going to generate threat by you shooting with your gun. So basically we're adding a lot of threat mechanics there. So if you're standing in front of the NPC with your ballistic shield and shooting with the gun, you should generate more aggro than the guy standing in the back sniping the NPC.
Nice.
So that's going to be a lot of playing with the aggro. Smart cover, for example, the concealment mod reduces the threat. So you can hide behind a smart cover and deal a lot of damages, and if there is another guy that's generating more threat, he's going to get the aggro. Pulse Scrambler also reduces threat. Mobile cover extension generates threat, countermeasure reduces threat. So yeah, a bunch of skills actually got these kind of things.
Nice.
So again, try it, tell us how it changes the group mechanics and if the tanking actually feels like a proper approach now. But that should be good. Okay, then next is loot. So
Right.
it's
Right.
your time to shine. Okay, the first one, and that's a big one because that's a big discussion we had. And yeah, there are a few disclaimers there, but open world named NPCs, we changed the respawn cooldown or the respawn timer. It was at 24 hours, and we know that a lot of comments were made on that. We changed it to 4 hours.
Nice.
So that's much faster.
Cool.
Yeah. So, of course, like it's much faster. So we tried to look at like how long does it even take to like clear out the entire game world
Exactly.
if you are hunting these guys.
Yeah.
And of course, we don't want you to like, find one guy, kill him, go back to the other guy because he respawned, and then like
bounce
go back and forth
that's-
between those two.
Yeah.
So it needed to be somewhere in the middle between that and the situation where you just have nothing
You run
for a
out,
very
yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
So this is the new value,
Yeah.
and
That's nice.
hopefully
And
that will work.
Yeah, it should work in a way that you're going to, or you can farm the open world, kill the named NPCs, then go do something else for a while, and then come back to the open world, and you can kill the named NPCs
Right.
again. So 4 hours should be like when you're having long gameplay sessions. That means that you could do it more than once, which is what we want. Now, of course, we've seen all the discussions about PvE dark zones, about landmark in PvE, and all these kind of things. We know that this is not a direct answer to all the things that you guys want, but in terms of time frame available for 1.4, this is what we can do. We cannot do more. We cannot add landmarks. We cannot add. I know that a lot of people were asking for map indication to help you farm the bosses in the open world. These are all good ideas, and it's all things that we want to hear from you guys. Just keep in mind that it's right now it would be too much work. If we were to start working on that, we would have to push 1.4 to much later. So eventually, now we are at the point where we need to make decisions on how much we can do for 1.4. So this is a nice thing to make it better. We know it does not answer all the requests, but it should be much better.
Nice.
Um,
People are happy about the 4 hours, definitely.
4 hours is nice.
Someone
yes.
said 4 hours, that's like exactly 6 times faster or something. And I was like, yeah, that's good.
Math.
Good. I'm pretty sure that's what they said.
Math.
Good job.
Good. All right, next one. And that one I think you can talk about. Mission bosses, underground bosses, and underground chest will now only have a chance to drop purple instead of iron and gear set at normal difficulty in tier 1.
Yes.
Repeat that after me now. Yeah.
So we can take that step by step, I guess.
Yeah.
It's part design, part bug that
Yeah,
this happened.
Yeah.
The design part is that we wanted to put the crate at the end of Underground on par with these bosses, quality-wise. And these bosses had chances of purple on normal, in all tiers.
On normal difficulty, yeah.
Yeah, on normal difficulty, in all tiers though. So that's the design part, that we wanted to do that. The bug part is that it didn't stick to just normal.
Yeah.
So it happened on hard and challenge as well. So that's fixed as a bug. The other design part is like, why would we have purples on every world tier?
Yeah.
And that's because like when we did our first iteration on like loot and rewards, other people were working very much still on like the gear rebalancing and the stats and everything. So at that time we worked with the assumption that a higher level purple than a high end could actually be better. Which means that if you move from one world tier to the next one and you try and play normal, purples would be viable. That's not where we ended up with the purples.
Yeah.
So and that's a valid point from everybody who brought this up.
Yep.
And that's why we also removed it from all world tiers except the first one.
Yeah.
Because that is where you just walk into end game and are not decked in level 30 purples. And they are still viable.
Yeah.
This is why the PTS is so good, because we get to make these changes, and I'm glad that we got that feedback, and now we can get it in and all of that. Anyway, we have a lot to go through still.
Just quickly, guys, as for date, we're not going to give you a date in this state of the game. Just so we're clear with that. We don't have a date because we want to give you the PTS week 3, and we want to get your feedback. We think we're getting close to what we want to have, but we want to make sure that you guys agree with us before we confirm a date. So you're not going to get a date today, so no need to spam the chat with that. But yeah, so just to make it clear, underground chests especially, and also underground bosses and mission bosses, but the biggest contention point was the underground chest, will only have a chance for purple in normal difficulty tier 1.
Yeah.
Normal difficulty over tiers, it's going to be guaranteed high-end or gear set.
Yeah.
And hard difficulty and challenging difficulty tier 1 also guaranteed high-end and gear set.
Yeah.
So we kind of went back to something closer to what it was in week 1 compared to week 2. We've seen that this was a big issue, and as you said, it was also part bug. We talked about, we confirmed it quickly when people were complaining about it, but there was an issue where the underground was always considering you as normal difficulty, even if you were not, so the chest would give you the reward of normal difficulty. It's not going to be the case anymore. So underground, good jobs. And also mission bosses and underground bosses.
Yes.
And I'm talking about bosses, so the mission and incursion, so what we call the mid bosses, which are the 4 horsemen, what's their name again? Raptor and Domino in General Assembly, I don't know if there are others, but like the named bosses you get during a mission or during an incursion, but are not the end boss of this mission. We made a change last week where they had the chance to drop purple. That didn't go very well, so let's talk about it.
Nobody wants the purples. No, I think we don't consider these guys actual bosses, right? They're named guys, but they're not the end of mission bosses. So that's why we give them different loot, because for the guaranteed stuff that you get from an activity, we only take into account the bosses and the rewards, and the rest is bonus.
Yeah.
So. That's why we didn't want to guarantee you high ends from these guys. So they had a chance for purple and a chance for high end, but it was a guaranteed drop.
Yeah,
sure.
But that's changed now, where we changed the guaranteed drop to crafting materials. So it's always something useful. And if you get the additional actual item drop, it will be a high end.
Nice.
So,
Okay, that's cool. I like that.
So you won't see purple from them, then you will always get your crafting material, and then if you get an item, it's gonna be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, that should be good, because it's always useful getting the crafting materials. That's something we discussed a lot with some of you asking us to remove purples, and we said removing purples doesn't mean that we're going to give you high ends instead, but there are alternatives, like in this case, which is then giving you something more useful.
Yeah.
Which actually leads me, I wanted to ask you about purples, because that's a discussion we had a lot, and with the changes we did in week 2, a lot of people have been complaining, why would you ever give us purples in World Tier 4 when you know that this is useless to us at all? And even though we're doing changes, you're still going to have chances to drop purples on random enemies, for example.
Yeah.
So can you talk a bit about why, from a game design point of view, we need to have this?
Yeah, I think that's how a loot game works, right? It's you have to have some not so good drops to appreciate the actual good drops.
Yeah.
And we have a system where we guarantee you the good drops from the bosses and the rewards.
Yeah.
But of course, your regular mobs out in the open world are just that, like cannon fodder, right? So they're not supposed to give you the best stuff all the time. They are there to have a chance for that. And if you don't get that, then you get something else, which we have other systems where these things can be used, right? Like you sell them and you buy something else, or you deconstruct them and you craft something else.
Yeah.
So that's basically the point. We can't only hand you out the good stuff all the time, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people seem to get that in chat, saying if you need credits, they're a good thing to sell. If you need crafting materials, you can make that decision. People saying high end can be crap as well. That's true sometimes.
That is also true.
Sometimes, and then again, you have that same decision. You know, do I want credits? I'll sell it. Do I want crafting materials? I'll do that. Yeah. But we get it.
But so I think one of the interesting changes that you made now is that, and that's what you pointed out, it's that we want to make sure that when you get guaranteed items on bosses and everything, it's gonna be it's not gonna be a purple anymore, and that was maybe the mistake we did in week 2, or the issue we had with week 2, which was sometimes it would be very frustrating to open this chest and get a purple item when you expect to get something else.
But that's basically how we do our balancing when we come up with the appropriate rewards for playing a mission, both from the reward and from the boss drop. And then everything you get on top of that, because you just shoot a bunch of NPCs, then that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Sure. So just to continue the derailing a little bit, just before we move on, someone brought it up just a second ago, and now I've forgotten what I was talking about. But it was to do with the loop being part of that system, the whole economy. Right.
Yeah.
This is what I was going to say. Yes, I remembered. So I don't look like as much of an idiot as I was going to. Crafting. Someone said crafting is not great right now, and we know this. Like, crafting is something that we want to work on in the future. 1.4 doesn't address crafting in the way that we want it to, but in the future we will take another pass at crafting. There's plans for crafting coming.
Yes.
But not in 1.4.
Yeah.
So stick around.
Yeah. It's definitely something we'll look at. Okay, moving on, and I've seen some people have been commenting on that. Division Tech has been removed as a requirement from high-end and gear set blueprints.
Yeah. So
why? Why did you do that, Nikki?
Because we moved all these type of blueprint from Dark Zone to the blueprint vendor in the terminal. And we always had the rule that if you buy a Dark Zone blueprint, then Division Tech is required to make that thing. Now that is not actually a Dark Zone blueprint anymore because you can buy it in the terminal.
Okay.
So that's why we removed all the Division Tech requirements from those blueprints.
Okay. Are there any Dark Zone specific blueprints now, or are they?
Throughout the leveling game, there are still blueprints that you can purchase there that have Division Tech requirements. Yeah.
Cool. But in the end game, you don't.
No, they're all moved to the blueprint vendor in the terminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that means that
Good year.
Division Tech is kind of like, what's the use for Division Tech now?
So you can of course still use it as a conversion.
Yeah. I like that.
So you can turn it into whatever. So that's the main purpose right now.
Yeah.
And for the future, we're looking into how we can find other functionalities for it. Yeah.
So basically, we know it's kind of useless now, but
Well, I don't think it's useless. I wouldn't go say that, but like right now, I have a bunch of Division Tech,
Right.
And I need more electronics. Like
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just
No,
need it, right?
It's
Like,
it's definitely good for conversion because it's also better to convert a Division Tech than converting lower crafting material to higher crafting material because the conversion rate is better. But it's definitely something that we will need to look at again and address and make more useful in the future. That's not useless. Sorry, chat. I meant it as a joke, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
That's fine. Sorry. Didn't mean to offend anyone. Division Tech lovers. Bug fixing. Okay, I'm at the bug fixing. We're almost there, guys. What is this one? Fixed a bug where a whip weapon could be crafted MG5. Yes, RIP MG5.
MG5, you didn't see anything. Like there was never an MG5. It didn't exist, for all intents and purposes. It won't exist
This
in
is
week.
not the MG5 you're looking
Exactly. It won't. It's not in week 3 of the PTS. Correct.
It shouldn't be. No.
It shouldn't be, right.
It's in the
No,
patch notes,
it's
so
fine.
it should be removed.
All right. But people, I saw a lot of conversations like, "Oh, it's so OP. Why don't these guys balance the MG5?" The values on it were completely arbitrary based on stuff that happened a long time ago. The MG5 was never ever intended to fit in the current context of the game. Don't freak out. MG5, not a thing. All right.
It's not a thing. It will be a thing
It will
eventually.
be, and it will
but
fit with
not 1.4.
It'll fit with the weapon balancing of that time, but for now.
It shouldn't be confirmed, not removed. Well, we never know with PTS. It shouldn't have been in the PTS at all, you know. So we never know. But no, it's not meant to be in 1.4. It's not balanced for 1.4. So yes, it was completely OP. We know that it was never meant to be there to begin with. Okay, what else do I have? Gear stats. So there was an issue with recalibration, especially when converting gear from 1.3 to 1.4. Your stats are supposed to scale with the new balancing of 1.4, but there was an issue if you had gear that were actually recalibrated in 1.3. The stats, the main stat, firearms, stamina, and electronics, if they would have been recalibrated in 1.3, when you move to 1.4, the recalibration result was not scaled properly. So basically, you would end up with something that was a bad roll because the scaling is different.
Yep.
Anyway, long story short, we fixed that. So if you recalibrated firearms, stamina, or electronics on your 1.3 characters, it's now going to be scaled properly to 1.4. Good bug fix there. Skills. And that's a good one. That's not a PTS thing, that's a live thing actually. We fixed the bug with the skills stuck on cooldown.
Okay, on the live game.
Yeah, the one that is on the live game. It's fixed in PTS week 3. It was
okay. All right.
So yeah, that's a good one also. So the issue where when you would be stacking support stations and all these kind of things in Dragon's Nest and you ended up with your skills being kind of broken, this is fixed.
Nice.
And also, yeah, we fixed also another bug, a display bug. We talked about it last week already. There was a bug with the existing gear when it was transferred from 1.3 to 1.4. The mod slots would be duplicated on the right of the gear icon for whatever reason. This has been fixed. It's not going to be an issue anymore, so it should be much clearer.
Cool.
Yeah, there's much more, but again, I'm not going to go through it.
We'll be here all day, which we don't mind, but you guys would probably be sick of us.
Yeah.
All right. I had some follow-up stuff. So we have Nicky on today, and there's also going to be a dev blog coming out tonight.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it should be coming out tonight.
All right, probably tonight. But we have a lot of information in there about specific gear and loot things. But some of those things I wanted to talk about before we even get to that. But there's a little bit of confusion around sealed caches, right? You can now purchase them.
Yeah.
You have ones that you can buy at the DZ checkpoints.
There should be sealed caches in all currencies.
Okay.
So on the weapon and gear vendors for eCredit, the Dark Zone guys, and Phoenix Credit. Yeah.
Okay. So I've seen the checkpoint ones. The Phoenix Credit ones. Is that from in the base of operations or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
yeah, in the terminal.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
But so there's now a lot of things happening there. There's a little bit of a difference between the Dark Zone ones and the other ones.
I think the eCredit and the Dark Zone ones are quite similar content-wise. You just pay for them in a different currency.
Okay.
And the Phoenix Credit ones are more specific.
Okay. In
like,
what way?
As in, you can buy one that actually says weapons and
okay.
gear. So you can, like, it's less random. So you can pick what pool to roll from, basically, if you buy one of those.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it should have like weapons, gear set, and mods.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. So like you can actually, if I'm being a little bit pedantic, but you could technically just gamble like for
Yeah.
mods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like the prices are much lower
Yeah.
than for an item there. So because it's still like a gamble of what you're gonna
Yeah.
get, and these caches scale with your gear score. So they will be available like at every world tier. Prices will not go up because you get the same stuff always from it.
Nice.
So it's always there. It's cheaper, but you never know what you're gonna get.
So I see someone saying, increase Phoenix credit limit from 2,000. Here's the thing: if your Phoenix credit capped, now you can blow through those Phoenix credits to get rid of them and get some stuff that you need.
That's the thing, right? If
that's really cool.
The vendors like got a big update as well in the previous week already, I think, or from like they had a big change in PTS2, but they also had an update in the first week, and so hopefully there's something to buy from any of them. But if there's not, then you can still spend a little bit of like less currency on one of these caches and still get something. Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, we actually talked about this a little bit earlier, the changes from week 1 to week 2, but for people who weren't here, when the PTS dropped in week 1, they were like, yay, loot, it's everywhere. And then week 2, there were some tweaks, but also some bugs that affected that. Week 3, would you say that we're going back at all, or like?
Well, I think the main issue that kind of like created the perception of all the nerfs on loot drop chances and stuff is the thing with the underground box and the availability of purples and stuff like that. And I think the reaction was so vocal that we actually like went into detective mode and like tried to figure out between all the builds where did our like actual like our own changes come in, and where like what ended up on the PTS. And so we did some like change list numbers on builds and stuff like that to figure out what went in when, and we absolutely did not change drop chances at all on like mobs and those regular enemies. in between PTS builds. So
nice.
Yeah.
All right. So week 3 should again, and we want your feedback on these things. So if you have a good loot experience in week 3, let us know. And if you don't, let us know. But we need to see exactly what happens in week 3. We actually have an image from the dev blog that's coming out a little bit later, just for clarity. And I know that when we talk about things, people often miss exactly how those work. Kevin, can we just bring up the image for how weighting works in incursions now? Because you can now get any gear set from any incursion, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
But you can also get any gear set from any random guy now.
That's true.
So,
so I know people in regards to this have said, well, it forces me. It's going to have less chance for me to find what I'm looking for. The opposite's true, right? Like mathematically, you should be able to target the drops you want in a more efficient way.
Yeah, and you should actually be able to target gear sets that were previously in Underground DLC.
Okay, so if you don't own the Underground DLC, you can now get that content? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the weighting before was like the gear sets that released in one of our updates were mostly available in the Incursion that released in the same update.
Okay.
And of course with Underground, with that being paid for, and Dragon's Nest being paid for, and Underground, the game mode, being paid for, that means that those gear sets were there. So what we changed here in general is that all gear sets are in like all those common drops from regular enemies, but we still wanted to give you a way to target certain things. So what we tried now is to actually like tie, like you can see in this image, like tie certain slots of gear set to a certain incursion.
Sorry, a quick disclaimer. Yes, armor is actually chest piece. I don't know why.
Yeah, that should be a vest.
Picture.
Yeah,
sure.
Chest armor. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, Dragon's Nest is still a paid for incursion, but you only need 4 out of 6 pieces to make a gear set work.
Yeah.
So like even people that don't own Dragon's Nest can farm for these sets.
Yeah, and technically they could find backpack and knee pads elsewhere in the world.
Yeah,
As a random
definitely.
drop-down,
Yeah, they're not locked to this. It's more like if you play this, then the rewards from this incursion will tailor towards this, and you can actually preview this when you look at the rewards on the incursion icon in the world map.
Oh, okay, so it'll tell you on the map.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, the other things I have written down are the level 33 mods.
Right.
Yes. So what's happening there? Because I mean, that's for people who haven't been on the PTS, they don't have access to those in the live game. No. What can you tell us about level 33 mods?
That they're there now.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
No, the reason behind this is it kind of has to do with I think what like Drew explained on this stream before is that like at endgame, like a lot of items that we have like scale out of control. And weapon mods were contributing a lot to like your overall power increase if you were min-maxing at endgame. So that's why we basically capped mods at level 32, so that this wouldn't grow into an even bigger problem. But of course, with the whole new world tier system and the entire rebalance of how mods work in general, we were like, if we have a world tier that allows you to play basically in a level 33 world, then you should be getting level 33 mods. So that was the priority for us to make sure that that happened. And in addition to that, there were also a couple mods that didn't come in certain qualities.
Or like the laser pointer?
Exactly, like the small, like your pistol laser pointer and stuff like that. That's
literally
also
unplayable.
That's also gone. So all mods, all qualities, all levels. Yeah.
Nice. All right. People are like, where's Drew? Drew's in the gym. Yes, Drew is in the gym. We're going to wrap it up here in just a second because, again, these State of the Games have been running overtime. And but that's fine. I'm happy with it because we get to talk for longer. We'll if we see any questions pop up in chat, we'll do that.
I
was just going to say, is there anything we missed for the
Yes,
people?
PTS, actually. What's going to happen on the PTS? Because I've seen a lot of people asking, does that mean what's going to happen to the MG5 I've crafted on the PTS or whatever? We're actually resetting the database on the PTS.
Yes.
So what that means is that we're re-importing the live game database today to the PTS. So all the changes you made during week 2, they're all gone. You're starting fresh again with your character from live in week 3. The reason being that we made changes to drops, we made changes to everything, to progression and everything. We want to start over again from the live environment, because again, week 3 it should be the experience you go through when we deploy the update on 1.4. So so that means that all the items that you got during week 2 and all that, everything is gone. The reason why we're doing that is, again, because we need to make sure that we test the transfer from 1.3 to 1.4 with the new changes we did, especially with stuff like we talked about recalibrated stats and all of that. So there
you go. I think people understand that. But I've seen a lot of questions about stash increase. That's not happening, to be clear. We know you guys have talked about it a lot.
Yeah, it's not happening for 1.4. There was something else, another question that was for 1.4. Yeah, somebody was asking earlier, I've seen that, I wanted to answer that. Underground checkpoints, any progress for 1.4? It's not going to be for 1.4. It's also something we want to look at, but it's not going to be 1.4. And the question about the free vendor, so we talked about how we wanted to add a vendor that would allow you to generate items and min-max. It's unfortunately not something we managed to put in the build. We won't have a free vendor.
We couldn't get that in. It's one of those things that would have been really nice, but we had to focus on actually all the other things that needed fixing.
We just couldn't. We wanted to make it, we couldn't make it. So sorry about that. But
how do the weapon skins work now? Well, if you missed that news, you only need one of them, and you can apply them to all weapons, and also they don't take up any inventory space. That's one of the things. Anyway, I also want to remind you, if you're just tuning in on Twitch, you can listen to this, or you can watch it on the past broadcasts, if that's your thing, if you wanted to go back and watch the start of it. We now have this available in podcast format from last week. We had that one up. And also, if you're listening to the podcast now and not watching, then good job, you listened to a podcast. But so you can go back and listen to all the things that we've talked about. And there are certain people online who do recaps of these things as well, which we really appreciate.
One small thing, I see people commenting about that, and it's very important. Stuttering on consoles, people saying we're focusing on PC, we're not fixing. We have a fix for stuttering on consoles, so that should be much better in 1.4. Again, stuttering can be caused by many things, so we don't know yet if we caught all the reasons for it, but a big bunch of it, most of it should actually be fixed with 1.4, because we found the reason for the main reason for stuttering. So don't worry, console guys, we're not forgetting about you. We're not just focusing only on the PC. We are also, in the same time, adding fixes for console issues. Same with disconnect on PS4 during incursions and these kind of things.
Yeah, so, exactly.
We have a bunch of fixes for you guys.
Exactly. Those stutter fixes and stuff for console, I know people, and I totally understand it. It's frustrating right now to have to wait till 1.4, but those things have to be a lot of client fixes, not just server-side things, which we, if they were, that'd be great, but we unfortunately don't live in that world right now. Anyway, we got to head off. We'll be back again. I'll probably be streaming in the morning for the week 3 of the PTS. Maybe I can even jump on this afternoon. I don't know. Depends if we have some time. But yes, thank you very much for hanging out today. We'll be getting closer to 1.4. Hopefully we have a release date for you soon, but we have to see what happens in week 3. So please stay active on the forums or wherever you're having these conversations. It's really helpful to us. Where else people are interacting with us? Obviously in Twitch chat. We appreciate all you guys. Twitter, Facebook as well. And
Twitter, Facebook. The main place for PTS discussion should be the forums.
The PTS forums.
The PTS forums, but we are of course looking at all the discussion platforms everywhere. So just let us know.
Thank you. Someone says, what does PTS mean? Public Test Server. That's a great note to finish on. We'll see you again really, really soon. Thanks very much.
See you guys.
Bye.